In this video, I go over the system and AI software called Mr. Scraper. The website is mrscraper.com. We go over the elements in the system, the sub-elements, the interconnection or the purpose of these elements in the system. And I even point out the bottleneck in the business, which you guys will have to find out later in the video. We looked into, like what is the ideal customer base and how they're not serving this ideal customer base. Because the product is good. They've done a really good job with the product. Um, it solves a real problem, but they're not serving the right people. So you guys are about to see why that is in the video, and you guys even get to see all the elements and sub-elements, all the details in the business as well, to get a better, more broad understanding of the software to potentially implement it in your AI business, whether you're an agency or a software company. You might get a few ideas from this, and that's pretty much it. Enjoy. MrScraper.com, made by Keho, 142K per month in revenue, 1.71 million in a year. This is what the front page of the website looks like. This is the pricing structure. So this is the monthly pricing structure right here. And then as you move down, they have non-subscription plans as well. So for the free plan, you get 100 tokens. So one token is 30 minutes of use of, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds of usage, and then one proxy. For people who don't know what proxies are, they allow you to scrape web browsers while evading detection. Okay, so there's a free plan, pro plan, which also has one proxy, but more tokens, and then you have the ultimate plan with more proxies, which essentially helps you switch between proxies to help you avoid detection. So being on these two plans would make you more prone to getting detected, which would make you required to buy a proxy here. They probably arbitrage proxies with their service, right? But it's like it's an easy way to just buy a proxy because it's in their package. And then moving on, here are the benefits for non-coders. You save time on scrolling and clicking buttons, and you also save time on data extraction, aka copy and paste. And then the benefits for coders is you save time on acquiring more proxies, and you save time on figuring out how to rotate multiple proxies. Okay, so they automate rotation between proxies, and that allows you to not get detected, and your single proxy doesn't burn out because you have multiple that are rotating, right? Now, here are the elements in the system for MrScraper.com. 1, data extraction. 2, infinite scroll. So as you're extracting data, specific data, you get to decide how much data you want to extract from a single page. So it can go on and on forever for how many tokens you have or how many tokens you're willing to pay for, right? And they also have pagination, another element. So if there are multiple pages, right, and you got to go and click onto the next page, it does it for you automatically and continues scraping. And then lastly, the final element is proxy rotation. Now here is the interconnection of all the elements, or the purpose of all the elements, and it is to extract data on automation without disruption. Now, there are two types of customers for MrScraper.com. Number 1, business owners who lack coding experience, and number 2, business owners who have coding experience. So 1, people who don't have. 2, people who do have. This is a bad box here. What's going on? There we go. Now, here are problems customer number one experiences. So the business owners who lack coding experience, the two problems they have is one, they spend too much time extracting data, and two, they're unable to find or spot required data. And then for the problems customer number two experiences, which are business owners who have coding experience, one problem is they don't know how to acquire or implement proxies. And number two, they don't know how to rotate proxies, right? When you're extracting data. Now, if we're analyzing, if we're extracting the problems from customer number one here, these two problems, this problem is unable to be solved without learning how to code, right? So you can't, as customer number one, you cannot solve the problem on your own without Mr. Scraper unless you learn how to code, essentially. And then if we're analyzing the problems for customer number two, if they were to try and do this on their own without MrScraper.com, the problem is solvable by learning how to acquire, implement, and rotate proxies. Okay, so it essentially takes more effort for customer number one to implement Mr. Scraper's methods, system, versus customer number two, right? Now here are the two main acquisition channels that MrScraper.com uses. Number one is Google SEO. Number two is outreach. Okay? These are their two main acquisition channels. They mentioned this themselves. Now, here is the presumed bottleneck in their business right now. They're spending time on targeting coders instead of non-coders. As you can see, this is their blog page, their most recent content. They're making content on people who know how to code rather than people who don't know how to code. And if we're looking back here again, when we're analyzing the problems from both avatars, customer number one and customer number two, number one, those who lack coding experience, and then number two, those who have coding experience, it takes more effort for customer number one to implement Mr. Scraper's system, right? And so essentially, the result of this bottleneck is it will attract SaaS companies, software as a service companies, or native coders who can implement this system on their own, right? Because the lead magnet here is they're giving the do-it-yourself, the DIY, away for free, right? And then they're giving a call to action at the end of each blog post, right? The system makes sense, the product makes sense, it's a good product, but their content is wrong. Now, here's a solution. Target problems businesses are experiencing with scraping data and finding data. And here are two examples. Number one is headaches involved with managing human data scrapers. And number two is headaches involved with using popular data scrapers without proxy rotation. Okay. Now, if we're implementing example number one here, which are headaches involved with managing human data scrapers, what would work is recording interviews with agency owners, so productized solutions, about their process using human data scrapers. And the incentive for agency owners getting on these interview conversations would be brand awareness for their solution. And when I say record, it doesn't necessarily mean to have an interview over video. It can also be over text. It can be a blog post as well. And the call to action at the end of this content would be to discard human data scrapers for MrScraper.com to save money and time by automating the entire process. And then if we're implementing example number 2 here, headaches involved with using popular data scrapers without proxy rotation. There's a lot out there that do not have proxy rotation. If we're implementing example number 2, a good way to implement it would be to review current data scrapers in the market to transform into content. So your review of the other data scrapers, right? You would turn that into content, whether that's video or blogs. And the incentive for the audience to consume this type of content would be to gain an unbiased product comparison between the other data scraper and MrScraper.com, right? And the call to action at the end would be simplify and accelerate the data scraping process with MrScraper.com.